What's up guys, in this video I am getting 5 video games graded with CGC video games. I've never purchased any graded games from CGC. In the past I have had a few comic books. They were eventually resold. I did okay on those. I have a lot of thoughts about video game grading in general. I won't really share them here. Most of them are negative. I know there's a lot of controversy out there. I will say I'm grading this stack of games specifically to make money off of them. This isn't something that's going to sit in my collection long term. It's essentially just a video game flip. Let's look at the titles I'm going to be grading. Legend of Zelda, Spirit Tracks. These are all going to be sealed. This one looks like it's in very good condition. Purchased this when it was still on the shelves. I got it on eBay. I want to say it was like $16 or $17 total. I did buy it with the intention of playing it, but when it got here, I sealed it in a Ziploc bag and it sat on my shelf for over 15 years, roughly. Next up is the game that's my entire motivation for having things graded to begin with. Pokemon White version 1. I do have this sealed. After the initial release, these basically just sat on the shelves. This did not go up in value until years later. And I specifically remember paying about $22 for this. And I remember it because I bought several copies. And then over the years, I think I've traded them or sold them on eBay as they were starting to go up. This one sat sealed in my collection until now. It goes for over $500 graded. So this is not something I want to keep. Now, these next 3 games I purchased specifically to just grade them and get rid of them. The Atui collection for the 3DS. This is a limited run title. Supposedly they only made 6,000 copies of this, and that does include 2,000 copies that were like special editions in a box set. So there should only be 4,000 of these out there. That doesn't mean it's expensive or even hard to find. It does mean that it's rare, assuming they don't re-release it on a different website under some other different program. But this was pretty cheap. I got it for a total of $38.56, and this may be something I need to have sit a little while until it goes up in value. Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild for the Wii U. Now, as you guys may or may not know, this was a very late release for the Wii U, and of course Breath of the Wild was released on the Switch, so this kind of flew under the radar for collectors. Probably wasn't purchased by many people because everyone had upgraded to the Switch by then, I believe. But these are fairly cheap at the moment. I got both of these brand new, $81.55, and that included shipping. So it's not an expensive game at all. But these are the 5 games I'm going to send off. This is not a cheap venture. Right now I'm looking at the website and it's going to be over $215 to get these graded. I'll let you guys know in the next segment how much the actual total is. Fast forwarding 3 months and 13 days. That's how long it took to get these back from CGC. That's what I was kind of assuming, so I'll just show what grades I got and then I'll talk about the process a little bit. First up is Zelda Breath of the Wild. Got a 9.8 on this one. My second copy also received a 9.8. Atui got a 9.6 on that. These do have a little bit of space in there, so as I'm rotating it back and forth and tilting it, I do feel it rocking around a little bit. That could bug some people, so I thought I wanted to mention it to you. Pokemon White got a 9.8 on that. It just goes to show you, if you have sealed games sitting on your shelf, it does make a difference. It will benefit you to just put them in a Ziploc bag, wrap them in plastic so they're not collecting dust and getting damaged as you're looking through games. And finally, Zelda Spirit Tracks, 9.8 on that. And that is all of them right there. This is a process that seemed like it was designed to be better than it actually was. It seems like in the website you're supposed to be able to track the progress, like they'll mark it as received and then, identified and go through all these steps similar to what PSA does with their process. I didn't get any notifications aside from them labeling the games as received, and even that wasn't very clear. It took 12 days for them to mark these as received, even after they received them, because I was checking the tracking number. Some collectors may not be comfortable with that because this is over $1,000 worth of games, and when you're seeing a tracking number labeled as delivered, but they're not marking in their system as received for another 12 days, some people may feel a little uneasy about that. This was actually more expensive than you would assume. The website will advertise like, oh, $25 per game. I got the most basic grading after it was all said and done. With shipping and the junk fees that they pile on, this was about $43 per game. In some cases, that's more than twice of what I paid for a game, such as, Spirit Tracks. This was a $16 game. For many years, DS games or even 3DS games only retailed for $39. So for this to cost $43 in its cheapest form to get it graded, that isn't super cheap, especially when you're seeing it advertised as $25. So it may not be worth it for everyone, of course, but you'll have to do the math and consider that on your own. It would have been nice to get some sort of updates as they went through the grading process, but that didn't happen. I actually had to email them just to verify that they were actually received. Their website is super glitchy. It doesn't really work how it's supposed to work, so that's a little annoying. And it's unclear if that's only because they're still somewhat new to grading video games, or if the website, for whatever reason, during this time frame just was filled with glitches. You may have a different experience if you're doing this 6 months from now or a year from now. The case itself feels solid. I don't have any other video games graded that I can compare it to, but it feels like it has a nice weight to it. It does feel pretty sturdy. I would be happy as a collector displaying this on a top shelf or as some sort of centerpiece to my collection. But of course, the intention is to just sell these. They do come with these labeled bags that have a barcode in the title. So of course, what I'm gonna do is just put this back in the bag and let it sit on my eBay shelf. I may end up having to keep a Tui and the two Breath of the Wilds just because they are not super expensive at the moment. If I need to sit these in a closet and let them sit there for 5 or 7 years, I can certainly do that. That's not a problem. But of course, that wasn't my initial intention. With this grade on Pokemon White being so high, this is going to make all my money back for sure, and this will sell pretty quickly, I hope. And one last note, as you can see in the footage, they did ship these very securely. There was bubble wrap, they were separated by cardboard, there was padding on the top and the bottom, so I am happy with how they shipped these back, thankfully. So that was my experience, guys, with CGC. If you had a similar experience with a different company or you even went through CGC, leave a comment below and let me know what you went through and if it was worth it to you. Hit that thumbs up on the way out. I'll see you next time. Bye.